Oh, on that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of brilliant.
It's genius. All right, I'm going to go grab Lieutenant Governor.
Okay.
Chris, any word on the vote, bro?
Or,
What's that, buddy?
I mean,
Whatever you're comfortable. I mean, you guys can offer support.
do you want to? I mean,
We're going to have
what
you
do you
guys
want to
sit
do?
over here.
Because I'm just going to go in and leave. I'm not here.
You're going to leave at like 4:20, right, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to. Started like we did NBIA, which is actually working finally. Finally.
Make Greg do it.
So, Chris, was it the Pfizer jab? So the Pfizer jab, 14-0, and it's the ACIP? Wow, okay. Chris, can you hear me? Do you have any names, Chris, of the people that voted yes? It's no big deal. I mean, Chris, the thing that I want to ask people is, hey, did you vote for any of these 14 people? Because I don't think I did. And that's what I want to get at.
What, FDA?
Yeah, the CDC just approved breaking news, 14
5 to 11.
14-0. I can't hear him really well. Hey, Bridget, I can't really hear. James, you want to do a quick mic check?
Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Too late, because here we go. Some breaking news we're going to start with, folks. Let's kick off the show. 14-0. 14-0. I will explain that in just a moment. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Chris Berg Show. Coming to you live from downtown Fargo at the Ag Energy Summit. We've got an incredible show in store for you today. But also want to remind you to make sure you stop by your local PetroServe USA to grab some gas and some goodies on the way home from work, because PetroServe USA helping you and America fuel better. So we've got a great lineup coming up. I'm going to share that with you real quickly and then give you some update here on this breaking news that literally just happened moments ago in regards to the COVID shot for kids ages 5 to 11. We've been saying for weeks now here on the show, they're coming after your kids. Be awake, see what's happening. We know the mandates are coming towards the schools. The big question is going to be, what are you going to do when that news breaks as well? First, joining us here on our first block of the show today in just a moment, we've got the great North Dakota Lieutenant Governor of the great state of North Dakota, Brent Sanford, is going to be with us. Also, North Dakota Commerce Commissioner James Leiman is going to be with us as well to talk about what's happening sort of in the four quadrants of North Dakota and what we can be doing as a state to, again, align ag and energy, the two most important industries here in our great state. And then coming up later in the show, Brent Sanford's going to stick around for the second block because since he's here, we got to talk a little bit of politics, right? I want to get his take on what's going on in this Virginia governor's race, which, oh, by the way, happens tonight. Everybody I talk to that's a political junkie, political wonk is suggesting that McAuliffe is going down. This Youngkin gentleman, a Republican, may actually win the gubernatorial race in Virginia, which is going to send shockwaves across America and maybe even, let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. And be like, whoa, wait a second. Maybe here all the stuff we've been talking about, seeing $3 plus gas prices isn't actually effective for the American people. So great conversations coming up here on the show. I want to start with this. So the breaking news is the CDC had their hearing today in regards to approving the COVID shot for kids 5 to 11. It's called the ACIP. Super producer Chris Larson was listening to this. I don't even know what the acronym is. Here's what I do know. 14 people on some board on this ACIP, on the CDC, 14 people voted 14 to nothing. 14 to nothing to approve a shot right now that's under emergency use authorization for your kids 5 to 11. Couple obvious questions, right? You're talking about 14 people that are now going to dictate a shot for 28 million kids that we have in our K through 12 system here across America. So 14 people are going to dictate this decision for 28 million youth, give or take maybe a little bit. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. My point that I want to ask you about is this. Think about the impact this can have potentially on your life, your kid's life, what's going to happen as far as education here in America. And the most obvious question is, did you vote for one of these 14 people? Did you walk into a booth and say yay or nay to one of the 14 people that Chris now is telling me is called the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices? I don't have all their names in front of me. Chris is working on that. We will get you more details. But as far as I know, I didn't vote any of these 14 people. And yet now they are making decisions on the future of my children and my family. So we'd love to know your point of view on that if you want to call into the show anytime today. The number is 701-271-1100. Speaking of kids, we'll talk to about this in the next segment with Lieutenant Governor Brent Sanford. We told you yesterday about a student in junior high school here in Fargo where a teacher had essentially asked to have a student put duct tape on their face in order to keep the mask above their nose. After the show, thanks to you, because we talked about it again on the show yesterday, you obviously spoke out to Fargo Public Schools. They did send us a statement after 5 o'clock yesterday, so I'll read that to you coming up in the next segment. So lots happening here. Carrie Lynn says the ACIP meeting was so incredibly hard to listen to today. Chris Larson said the same thing, Carrie Lynn. So apparently it was like watching paint dry. But again, it's our kids, right? So it's worth it to sit there, get into the details, and know what's happening. Let's talk about where North Dakota is now positioned economically, what we can do to align ag and energy and continue. I'm saying this, not our guests. Maybe they'll jump on this bandwagon, but to continue to position North Dakota as the freest state in the nation. Folks, if you go talk to people outside the state and you start talking about what's going on with the ACIP, not one person voted to approve this jab, and now there's going to be mandates like we know that are happening in Washington. When you can position, in my opinion, our state as the free state in the nation, I think that will help with the workforce issue. So, Lieutenant Governor Brent Sanford, James Leiman, the Commerce Commissioner, both you guys, thanks so much for being here. We really, really appreciate it. Lieutenant Governor, we'll start with you. Lots going on here in the conversation in the room next door to us. I guess your greatest takeaway so far for the audience to know is what?
That there is a partnership between energy and ag in this state, and there always has been, always will be. But we really need to be together more than ever when we have the headwinds coming from an administration like this. that doesn't like the way we grow food or the way that we produce energy. And we feed and fuel the nation and the world, and we need to be proud of that. And so, guess what? We can continue doing that. Just keep doing our job. I watched Harold Hamm on Fox today. I mean, he just said we got to keep doing our job despite these new methane rules. I mean, the Obama administration tried to do this before, but we just have to keep doing our job. Guess what? We're flaring a lot less today. Flaring, by the way, burns it off, so there's no methane venting. The methane venting is being handled by FLIR technology, make sure it's not venting from our infrastructure on oil and gas. And so we're being very responsible with methane the way it is. So we've just got to be strong and keep moving forward. But what's happening today is trying to bring the agricultural side of the state and the energy side of the state together. We have a special session. We don't have enough time. We have a $150 million proposal to bring natural gas from the west to the east for one thing, to continue the growth we've had in the east with keeping people here because of our university system, our agriculture, our research universities, but also that there's an opportunity for value-added ag plants, soybean, corn, those kind of plants to be built in the east. Guess what? We lose these plants to Iowa. What does Iowa have? They have natural gas coming from the Bakken down the northern border pipeline line on its way to Chicago that we don't have for the rest of our state because the natural gas those pipelines were built by the Canadians years ago to get Alberta natural gas to Chicago. We just happen to tag on now and put most of the gas in that pipe from western North Dakota diagonally towards Chicago, and Iowa is the beneficiary, not Grand Forks, Fargo, Hills, Brent, Mayville, Rugby, Devils Lake. Very disappointing. We're trying to put a project together to bring natural gas down Highway 2 and then to the east and south on I-29 and bring our prolific natural gas to the eastern side of the state and have value-added agriculture happening here as well. And it's something that you need both sides agreeing on. We have too much natural gas in the west, no matter what anyone thinks. We saw Justin Kringstead presenting. We're going to soon be doubling the amount of gas coming out. We do not have the pipeline takeaway capacity to deal with that. If industry deals with this themselves in a private sector solution, they'll do as they have. And they're very good at sending the liquids and the natural gas and pipelines out of state. They'll end up in Wyoming, Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, not here. Let's keep some of it here, add value to our agriculture. And so to see how, if this is percolating, the ag panel that was just on before I came in here, one of the farmers that was on there, Ryan Peterson, said, I hear these opportunities. Maybe that means a nitrogen plant using that excess natural gas. There's so much extra. Let's have nitrogen plants here so we can produce cheaper nitrogen for me to grow more crop. You know what else? Marathon Petroleum's in the room. Maybe if they continue on this path towards renewable diesel, like they've done with the plant in Spiritwood, taking soybeans into raw soybean crude oil and then shipping that oil to Dickinson to the refinery where it's a renewable diesel refinery. If they'll stay in that market, maybe I'll go to NDSU and try to come up with a seed variety of soybeans that's higher oil content than what we do today. These are the options that we have in North Dakota. We can lead the world in innovation with bringing ag products to market, bringing biofuels to market, bringing energy to market, bringing food to market. And that's exciting to be able to see us start to come together. We're looking for a long-term commitment here from Ag and Energy and form an alliance group and just move forward with our state as one, with our biggest two industries together.
So this is for both of you. And James, I'm going to start with you. We just heard an incredible stat about what the Bakken's ability is to, or the capability, I should say, to produce oil, right? We've got an administration right now that, as you just heard, announced new methane emission rules that's going to hinder our ability to produce that product. And now you've got them actually asking OPEC to produce more rather than the Bakken. I go to Costco in Fargo, which has got really cheap gas compared to the rest of the state. It's over $3 at Costco. It's a lot more to other places. And you and I both know that when you have high gas prices, that hurts the poorest people the most. How can you explain in any way, shape, or form what this administration is doing and what's the impact on North Dakota?
I think it's very difficult to explain. I mean, at the end of the day, we've laid out a vision to become carbon neutral by 2030 with a focus on increasing oil production using enhanced methods, using carbon from other parts of the country, as well as finding a home for natural gas that we could add value to this state in order to not only be carbon neutral, but to provide some of the bigger customers with their net zero goals. So as a result, it's very clear to us that there's a disparity between our approach to innovation and the administration's viewpoint in Washington, which is highly regulated. So our hope is at least to help educate them. I mean, we are working with them at various levels in administration to ensure that they see this, they understand it, and we hope that informs policy. But at the end of the day, it's very difficult to describe why they're making these decisions.
James, I know that you are heading on an airplane soon. So I guess one thing I want to have you chat about is you said at the end of one session today, hey guys, we're here today because we want to talk about this Ag Energy Alliance in North Dakota. Minnesota seems to be doing it well. What do we need to do in North Dakota to create this kind of alliance?
Absolutely. Well, it starts today. It starts today because the ag community learned more about the natural gas production that's slated to increase. But at the same time, the energy producers learned about several multi-billion-dollar projects that we're potentially competing for against states that have access to our gas. So when they, as the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, when they get into a room and understand, wow, this is what's happening in our state, east to west, this is the beginning of developing that alliance to help educate consumers, not only in the state, but in neighboring states, to help develop, hopefully, policy recommendations moving forward to augment what's already happening in groups like Empower and in other areas. But at the same time, it's really to come together our two largest sectors of the state's economy and actually bring it to the next level through a very innovative and business-friendly approach. And that's what you're seeing in this room right now. And fortunately for us, I think the reception is very well taken.
Thus make North Dakota the freest state in the nation, right?
Right.
All right, stick around. Again, if you're just joining us, I want to say thank you so much for being with us today here on the Chris Berg Show. We're live at the Ag Energy Alliance in downtown Fargo. North Dakota Commerce Commissioner, you just heard there, James Leiman, is about to jump on a flight, so he is going to take off. And thank you for putting this together, and thanks for being here. North Dakota Lieutenant Governor Brent Sanford is going to stick around. Want to get your take on this Virginia race and some other things as well, Lieutenant Governor. So stay with us. If you want to call into the show, 701-271-1100. 701-271-1100. You're listening to the Chris Berg Show. We'll be right back.
Chris, the echo.
Sounds good, buddy.
Okay, thank you.
So, mic off.
Check, check, check. Attention, all freedom lovers. This message is for you. As you and I both know, right now we've got jobs that are being threatened with unlawful, unconstitutional mandates that are happening all across the country. We're losing first responders. So this coercion has got to stop. You and I both know that, hey, look, if you want to get the jab, go ahead and take the shot. If you don't, you should have that freedom of choice. So on November 8th, coming up in Bismarck on the Capitol, this is when they kick off this special session that's coming up. There's a We the People rally, a We the People, We Will Not Comply rally at 12 noon. I'm told Blind Joe's going to be there singing his song, I Will Not Comply. So come out and join us in Bismarck again. It's from 12 noon to 2 p.m., and it's time to say enough is enough. Freedom lovers, patriots, take individual responsibility. We're going to stand for our freedoms. We respect all people of every creed, so we want to stand together, united, and be heard on November 8th in Bismarck on the Capitol steps at 12 noon. If you want to find out more, just simply go to wethepeoplend.com. Again, wethepeoplend.com. Grab buses, grab your cars, grab your trucks, whatever. Get together. Let's be united, and let's join together at the We the People, We Will Not Comply rally coming up Monday, November 8th in Bismarck at 12 noon. Made in America. That's you and I. Mayor I Can. So welcome back to the Chris Berg Show. We are live today at the Ag Energy Alliance here in downtown Fargo at the Radisson. And also want to say thank you to PetroServe USA. Please, as you're driving home, stop in and grab some gas and some goodies at your local PetroServe USA, helping you and America fuel better. All right, Lieutenant Governor Brent Sanford was supposed to stay with us here. He had to step out and go back into the conference because they're actually wrapping things up a little bit early, believe it or not. But I want to share a couple things with you that I was in the first session that I think are very, very important. And then we're going to get into this conversation at one point. You know, because of time, I want to do this now, folks, because we may not have time to get to this later with some other guests coming up. So yesterday, I told you a story about a teacher in a middle school here in Fargo that was asking students if their mask would come below their nose. They were then asking students, forcing students to use duct tape to duct tape the mask to their face. I have since gotten a picture from somebody that shows how the duct tape was being used on the mask. I post that on social media. You can check it out at our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Chris Berg Show, facebook.com/Chris Berg Show. I say this because the response, the reaction on social media has been stunning. I've had national organizations reach out to me and go, hey, Chris, this story needs to be discussed, needs to be talked about. Here's the thing. We told you about this story last week. I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday. Cassie Schmidt joined us. We talked about it. We reached out to Fargo Public Schools to get a statement. Did not get a response. We talked about it again yesterday. Finally, after the show, thanks to you, the Chris Berg Show community, reaching out to Fargo Public Schools, letting your voice be heard, we did get a statement because you and I both thought, hey, wait a second. You're talking about duct tape on a child's face. We can't even get a reaction from public schools. You and I both know that that is not appropriate. So they finally get back to us. So right after the show, Fargo Public School spokeswoman Anne Marie Campbell says in a statement this: Ben Franklin Middle School Administration has been investigating the situation you note in your email below. A teacher at Ben Franklin Middle School did offer students duct tape to keep a mask on while in class. The school administration is working with staff to ensure this behavior does not occur in the future. So kudos to Ben Franklin. Thank you for looking into this. Kudos to Fargo Public Schools for finally getting us a statement. But again, they are investigating the fact that a teacher in Ben Franklin Middle School was offering students duct tape to keep a mask on their face in class, and the administration is now working with staff to ensure this behavior does not occur in the future. With all that being said, and we've said this many times now on the show, and if someone's got some different data, please share it with me, but I have yet now, how long have we been doing this? 20 months now that we've been in this situation. I've yet to see conclusive evidence in schools that shows that masks are effective and efficient at mitigating COVID-19. The CDC did a study a while back in Georgia, again, showed some different, some decent results, but it was not conclusive to show that, hey, these masks are actually making a really, really positive impact on mitigating the situation in school. So I bring all that up because in case you missed the interview that super producer Chris Larson did yesterday with the student, I do want to remind you that this student, she's 13. She's 13, folks. How many of you are diving into the COVID numbers and looking at what's happening in different communities when it comes to COVID numbers? I'm going to presume many of you that listen to the show do because you're engaged, you're active, right? But many people, they're not diving into the numbers. And what I was so pleasantly, I will say, surprised by, warmed my heart, this 13-year-old student within Chris Larson's interview said, hey, look, the thing I can't understand, and I think this is for all of us, the thing I can't understand is the fact that here they are mandating masks in Fargo schools. I now have got to put duct tape on my face to keep it above my nose. And yet I can go look at West Fargo schools. They're not mandating masks. They're the fastest growing school district in the entire state. And yet their COVID numbers are actually lower than Fargo numbers. Can anybody please explain that to me? So here you are, you've got the fastest growing school district in the entire state. I believe maybe outside of Williston, but I think it is. They do not have a mask mandate. Their numbers are actually lower than Fargo's. Fargo schools does have a mask mandate to the extent that now some teacher, which to be fair to Ben Franklin of Fargo Public Schools, I've got to presume that nobody within the district is like, hey, I've got an idea. You know what? We better communicate to our teachers that, hey, duct tape, no good. Duct tape, no bien, right? I mean, that doesn't cross your mind. You're not thinking about, hey, I need to tell adult teachers, yeah, probably not a good idea if you're offering duct tape to put on a child's face. Now here they are in that situation because I'm sure they didn't think of this. At least now they're trying to mitigate the situation with the teacher. But pretty stunning to think that a teacher thought that was a good idea to use duct tape on a child's face to keep the mask above the nose. With all this being said, I do want to remind you, because we're talking about it for tomorrow, we're talking about it next week on Monday at the rally at the Capitol. It's time to take a stand. A 13-year-old did it, folks. A 13-year-old spoke up and had the courage to say, hey, this is not right. This is not how this should be happening because I just want to go to school and learn rather than putting duct tape on my face. So if you too are saying, hey, enough's enough, okay? You guys have now crossed a bridge way too far putting duct tape on a student's face. Enough is enough. I want to let you know that tomorrow at 12 noon, there is what's called a Walkout Wednesday. So super producer Chris, thank you very much. If you want to take a stand against these mandates and say, you know what, my child deserves better, there is Enough is Enough rally tomorrow. It's called a Walkout Wednesday, 12 noon. It's in front of Fargo Cast Public Health. I'm going to give you the address. You can go show up there and let your voice be heard. It's 1240 25th Street South in Fargo. Again, 12 p.m. tomorrow, that's Wednesday, at 1240 25th Street South in Fargo. There is Enough is Enough rally where you now can let your voice be heard and say, no more. No mas are we going to stand by and let these mask mandates be dictated to our kids when we are now being shown in West Fargo that there's no need for them. And now there was some teacher that thought it was a good idea to use duct tape to keep the mask above a student's face. Pretty stunning. And I will remind you, we started the show in case you're just joining us, speaking about our kiddos. The breaking news coming out today at the top of the show is that, yes, the CDC did vote 14-0. And again, I ask you, did any of you vote for those 14 people? The CDC voted today 14-0 to say yes to approve the shot for your 5 to 11-year-old. It's time to take a stand. We're going to talk about that and much more coming up right after this with the great Lieutenant Governor of North Dakota, Brent Sanford. Stick around. Okay, thank you. Check real quick then on the Lieutenant Governor's mic, please.
Check. Take care. He's got more freedom than I do. You got more freedom.
Hey,
than
Scotty, will you tell Scott that story?
Oh, yeah, but Fargo won't print my op-ed. They called me and they said, this is
Ag commissioner's been canceled.
Things that we talk about on the Chris Berg Show, we talk about being an oasis of freedom. It's amazing. We think about Dr. Horick recently being in Fergus Falls, and he asked, hey, why are we all here? And everyone starts screaming, freedom, freedom. So I want to tell you about a local North Dakota company that is supporting health freedom. Go check out checkablewellness.com. Again, checkablewellness.com. Go check them out right now. All you have to do, they've got these great products. One of them, for example, is melatonin. If you're familiar with melatonin, maybe you're out there, you're stressed out, or the kiddos have got you racing around, you can't really get a good night's sleep. Well, I've taken their melatonin product. It is phenomenal. So go to checkablewellness.com. Again, checkablewellness.com. All you do is you give them your email, and then they give you 25% off. Yes, that's 25% off your first order. They've got melatonin, ashwagandha, all kinds of great products. But I think all of us right now could probably use a good night's sleep dealing with some of the stressors that are out there across our great nation. Go check them out, checkablewellness.com. Again, that's checkablewellness.com. Hey, welcome back to the Chris Berg Show. We're live in downtown Fargo at the Ag Energy Alliance. Again, the Ag Energy Alliance. And speaking of that, a couple of very special guests joining us right now. They're going to stay with us for the rest of the show because I just found out some new news that I was stunned by, which I'm going to set up for in a second. Join us, though, North Dakota Lieutenant Governor Brent Sanford came back. So thank you, sir, for giving us some more time. Also join us now, North Dakota Ag Commissioner, the one and only Doug Goehring. So I don't want to steal Commissioner Goehring's thunder, and I do want to set this up, folks. He's been fairly vocal, written some pieces about mandates, as we all been talking about now with these mask mandates. Again, the special session coming up with saying no to mandates next Monday. There's the big We the People rally in Bismarck. And wait until you hear this. And if I get this wrong, he will correct me because he's sitting right here in front of me. We continue to talk about this cancel culture. What are people afraid of? Why are they afraid of you using your voice? I just found out that our own Ag Commissioner has sent in an op-ed in regards to his position against mandates. And apparently there's some media organization here in Fargo that won't even print it. Is that true?
It is. Can you hear me on this?
I got you.
Oh,
Great.
okay.
You've
All right.
got to be kidding me. So there is a media organization in Fargo that is canceling our own Ag Commissioner.
Well, I sent it to 9 different papers across North Dakota, and nothing appeared in the eastern part of the state. The rest part of the state did. And virtually all it was doing is citing exactly the position where Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, those people?
Yes, those people, past presidents of the United States. Well, and my point was, first of all, to address the issue about the corporations starting to dictate morality, values, our health choices. it's a bit ludicrous. It's coming down to where I just said, you know what, bully. Theodore Roosevelt said, let's break up the monopolies. When you are large enough that you believe you can dictate, then there's a problem. We have a problem in our society and our system. I mean, let's face it, years ago, the airlines tried dictating what your body type needed to be if you were going to be a flight attendant. That didn't go over well, and they got sued for it, and they couldn't do it anymore. No one's dictating what your weight is, no.
Just to be clear here, because I'm still shocked.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's
Forum Communications has now canceled the North Dakota Ag Commissioner and will not print an op-ed from our own Ag Commissioner. Is that a fair assessment on my part?
I believe so. They never heard word back from it. Never was printed here. A few other papers reached out to me and they printed it. And it really came down to, and I've been accused of this, are you anti-vaccine? No, I'm not. But what I am is forced vaccinations. We have choices. We have the ability to make those choices. You know, I'm just remembering something that Thomas Jefferson once said, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery.
Mm.
And to go along, to get along, I don't believe this is the time. Why would we give up our freedoms? Why are we being dictated to by others that are going to define and tell us what is the right choice for us? Keep in mind, I believe there's more of an agenda at hand than there is anything else. When you see a party that embraces choice, you know, your freedom to marry whoever you want, to be whatever sex you want, to abort, that's a choice. But then they want to dictate whether I should be vaccinated or not. That's a health choice. That's my choice. That's a personal freedom we have in the United States of America.
Well, and I don't want to get too off the rails here, but I won't say what I'm going to say. Lieutenant Governor, I just need to get your reaction to the fact that you've got a local media organization canceling a ag commissioner in our state.
Well, I can't say what the decision was there or not. I believe that our letters are published by the forum, but to the Ag Commissioner's point, I mean, it deserves a little more follow-up because the other newspapers in the state have put it. You know, so it usually you'll see elected officials being able to be put in a letter like that, or turned into a column because too many words and whatever it may be. So it's interesting what we're going through here. So at some point, maybe we can be Americans again instead of being so bitterly divided. And the division keeps coming and coming down from the federal government, and it's just too much.
And I want to get to that, but I guess my question to you is, what are they afraid of?
Good question. Commissioner Goehring said he was asked, are you anti-vaccine? I mean, this is something where the conversation should be the education on the vaccine, communicate with your doctor, therapeutics, you know, HIPAA, conversations like that. I mean, it's got to be a more robust conversation from the middle and dealing with what if someone contracts COVID? What are we doing now versus what we've been learning the last 18 months? It shouldn't be just all or nothing like it is. It's so divisive. I mean, what you're talking about earlier, 5 to 11-year-olds. I mean, and so what's going to happen there? Granted, there are a lot of parents in other states and other areas, and probably in this area, that are looking forward to that opportunity. They feel it'll make them safer as a family, and so they're breathing a sigh of relief. So this is something that there's a great division between us, but we should have that choice as the Ag Commissioner.
And you just summed it up perfectly. That's my point. As long as you've got the choice, right? And again, I don't want to get political here because I do want to talk about why we're here, but yet, if I'm a Democrat in the Democrat Party in the state of North Dakota and I can paint him as an anti-vaxxer, I want the forum to print that. That's what I just sit here and I'm it's really hard in my stomach and my heart to sit here and think that we've got a local media organization canceling a duly elected official in our great state, like our Ag Commission, which is the leading industry in our state. It just really troubles me, and it's hard for me to understand it. So I'll give you the last word on that. Let's move on.
Well, I just hope that we get back to a point where it seems like our culture has shifted so much anymore. We rely on, we're paralyzed in fear, so we rely on politicians, we rely on government to resolve and solve our issues. And the reality is, we're here to help you, to assist you. We're not here to enable you. We're here to empower you. And quite frankly, there's way too much credence given, and I don't know why the media in general across this nation, maybe even at the global level, is so focused on just certain messages going out. This is an opportunity
Do you want me to answer that for you?
to embrace our freedom that we have here in the United States. Because when you travel to other countries around the world, it's not the same way as it is here. And yet I see things slipping away here. I see rule of law being diminished. I see our positions on our freedom and our Constitution and our Bill of Rights being set aside because of fear. And that worries me. As an elected official, I'm supposed to be guarding and protecting those things.
Lieutenant Governor, quickly, sir, and I hate to say quickly in this context, but I do want to get your reaction to the fact that there was a middle school teacher using duct tape on a student's face to keep their mask above the nose.
Again, I don't know the details, but it's something where it leads to concern.
Okay.
And again, what is happening in the schools? What this administration needs to look into something like that. That doesn't seem like it's within reason to normal anyone on either side of the issue.
Thank you. And they are. Last thing is that on Monday, we start the special session. I know there's some bills that are going to be against mandates. You know the lay of the land very well. Do any of those pass and hit the governor's desk that could stop COVID mandates in the state of North Dakota?
That's the plan. From the majority leaders, that's the plan.
That's the plan.
Numerous
Okay.
bill drafts coming through on the topic, as you can imagine. And governor's office has been supportive of fighting the mandates from President Biden. And this is something where you see Republican AGs scrambling across the nation to sue against these mandates. Federal contractors requiring that their subcontractors have everyone vaccinated by like December 8th. Otherwise, you fire the employees. That's very heavy-handed. So the attorney generals are scrambling. But you've seen the Montana laws in place that are referenced here. Continental Resource employees have told us that there's a difference between if you're on one side of the border or not, North Dakota or Montana, based on that law. So there are versions of anti-vax mandate legislation coming through, and the Delayed Bills Committee will refer to all of them as they come in. And the full intent is that there's one committee, the Technical Corrections Committee, I believe is the name of it, that will be addressing that as a topic. And so we fully expect to get a bill on the governor's desk on that topic.
He might be the smartest lieutenant governor in the country, Brent Sanford. That's who you're listening to right there, folks. And I mean that. I mean, I remember when we had you at the energy conference, Lieutenant Governor, I asked you one question. I was like, wow, this guy just gave me an encyclopedia in energy. So real quickly, and I want to bring back and talk about why we're here, the Ag and Energy Alliance, with our special guest. But Super Producer Chris, if you can bring this up on screen, I do want to invite you, if you want to let your opinion be known in regards to some of these no mandates in North Dakota. We are going to make North Dakota the freest state in the nation. If you want to let your voice be known, you can contact the House Delayed Bills Committee. That's the first level you want to contact. It's Chet Pollard, Kim Koppelman, Josh Boucher, Scott Lauser, and Elisa Mitzgog. They're in the House there. There's also a Senate Delayed Bills Committee as well if you want to reach out to those people. That's Jerry Klein, Senator Jessica Bell, Senator Scott Meyer, Senator Aaron Oben, and Senator Don Scheibel. So those people are up on our screen. Reach out to them, share your point of view. And again, like Jim Casper said, be kind, share from the heart, and tell them, look, I don't want mandates. I want to make North Dakota the freest state in the nation. No mandates. Let's get it done. Stay with us when we come back. We'll talk about why we're here, the Ag Energy Alliance. That's what you're live at. I want to remind you, as you're heading home today, be sure and stop into your local PetroServe USA, grab some gas and goodies. And this Friday, we had such a great event last Friday. Come on, join us. It's Free Food Friday at Flag Family Media. We give you food. I mean, does it get any better than that on a Friday afternoon, 5 to 6:30 p.m.? It's Free Food Friday at Flag Family Media. Again, 5 p.m. Just come down to the studio, 2852 Thunder Road South. We got a great special guest, and we look forward to seeing you Friday. And stick around, much more coming up right here on the Chris Berg Show.
back on again.
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show. We are live here in downtown Fargo with the Radisson for the Ag Energy Alliance. Just a fantastic conversation for the great state of North Dakota. A couple of very special guests join us. North Dakota Ag Commissioner Doug Goehring, who also is on the Industrial Commission. That's why this is such an important conversation, as well as North Dakota Lieutenant Governor Brent Sanford. Both of you gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. Commissioner Goehring, we've had a chance to hear from Lieutenant Governor Sanford on today. So you can tell I'm talking fast because we've got such a limited amount of time. I feel like one of those commercials, like, oh, by the way, this farm is going to give you. Based on what you heard today, like, what was the most important thing you think our audience should know? And I guess the big question is being part of the Industrial Commission and obviously the Ag Commissioner, how do we combine these two powerful industries to really help North Dakota just continue to grow?
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity. I think the more that we can utilize our products in state, and we talk about value added all the time, but it always has to make sense. There's value added here for the energy sector, which feeds the value added opportunities for agriculture too, and for our communities in general. You could really ramp up more processing, manufacturing, anywhere down a new line that could be run through the state of North Dakota. Natural gas could feed a lot more of this. Plus, we have more water resources that are being developed as we're going along here. So there's wonderful opportunity. I think it's a great place where ag and energy interface, and it started years ago, but we've been able to at least address some of the concerns and the issues and work together better, appreciate each other better in Western and Central North Dakota. But I think to bring that further east, I think really fuels a stronger, better, more vibrant economy.
One of the things that Lieutenant Governor jumped out to me was the conversation from Kathy Nessett in regards to, hey, we have now extracted, I believe, 4 billion barrels out of the Bakken, but there's 12 billion there. But then on the flip side is the fact that now you've got this ESG conversation going on. What does that stand for again?
Environmental, social governance.
Governance. Thank you very much. So you've got this ESG conversation going on where now oil's at $85 a barrel, which a few years ago we would have seen like all kinds of activity, but it's kind of slowing down. Is that partly because of ESG? And one of the things I keep hearing is a lot of workers are going to New Mexico and Texas because it's just not as a business-friendly environment here in North Dakota, so we're losing people to these other states.
So what you heard from Kevin Black from Credence in there is that we are the most innovative here, but that might also mean that maybe they're going for it in New Mexico, Texas for other reasons. One of them is New Mexico has federal acreage, so they're drilling as fast as they can before they're shut down, because the Biden administration came out right away with a no more permitting policy right out of the chute. And so those permits that were already issued, they're drilling like crazy. Just as they are here in our state, if you have federal nexus to a spacing unit, they're drilling. They're going to get those ducts completed. They're going to frack those wells that were drilled uncompleted, and they're going to frack them now and produce those wells if you have any federal nexus because of fear of the federal government. Now, one thing we have in the Bakken is private minerals, which created the Bakken growth during the Obama administration. 2008 to 2016 is when Wofford City grew from 1,500 people to 6,000. Actually, it was in 2010 to 2011 that growth happened, right in the middle of the Obama administration. So if you constrain supply, the price goes up. So then business finds a place where they can actually have a business-friendly environment to keep doing business and handling the market that's in front of them. The market is here at $85. The market is here. We had the Trump administration driving energy prices down, so it's cheaper for the person in their home. But the coal-generated power and the oil and gas products were selling at very low prices.
I got an amazing stat I want to share with you because I want you to talk to this ESG conversation because many people across the state question, hey, is this just a bunch of greenies having a conversation, right? My point to you is that the data point that I saw is that when greenhouse gases started to lower was 2005 or 2010. The reason why? Fracking. because we started moving more to natural gas and away from coal. I don't think people are talking about that. Do we need this ESG conversation? Because that's where the capital's going.
ESG is driven by the far green left. It's not the labor wing of the Democrat Party that's in the middle. It's the far green left, the anti-jobs people, the future economy with wind towers and solar panels. And we don't have the connection of what really will it take to provide electricity for our electric cars and all of our data needs on the in-between side of that. What's going to replace nuclear and coal? They don't have an answer yet. And so if we get carbon capture done in our coal plants, then we reduce the emissions even more. That
And then we
reduces
look
it
at-
100%.
Would look more preferable
Yes.
as an energy source,
Even-
but they don't even want that.
No, they don't want coal at all. But
So the ESG
is,
doesn't want coal at all.
right. ESG is at the Wall Street level. It's not government. This is where Michael Bloomberg and crew have succeeded at Wall Street level. You listen to BlackRock, you listen to the largest of the talking heads. They're all ESG. They're saying, you know what, this climate change is here to stay, and we're going to have a climate scorecard for our companies. And so when I was able to ask the CEO of Goldman Sachs out at UMary, when Senator Kramer had him here, I said, will you be with us if we solve the carbon capture problem for coal-generated power plants and have zero CO2 coming out of that plant? Will you be with us? And he said, institutional money will not. Private capital will. Private capital, they understand there's a transition out there and there's money to be made because the markets still need power. The markets still need food. And so what's happening here is private capital is already moving in. At Coal Creek, that's private capital from right here in Bismarck, North Dakota. At the new plant, we've announced $2.8 billion gas to liquids plant out in Trenton and Williston area. That is private capital coming in. Experts that know how to build these things, but it's not the Fortune 500 and super majors that are actually going to feed the gas and take the offtake.
One of the things, we're going to keep our guests for the live stream. So if you want to join us in this conversation, because I think there's such incredible opportunity right now for you and I here in the great state of North Dakota. So you can join us at facebook.com/Chris Berg Show for a little Chris Berg Show overtime. Again, it's facebook.com/Chris Berg Show. If you want to find out, hey, where do our two special guests see incredible opportunity in regards to combining ag and energy? Want to remind you, tomorrow, 12 noon, there's Enough and Is Enough against the mandates, and then Free Food Friday at Flag Family Media, 5 o'clock on Friday. This is the Chris Berg Show. All right, Super Dude Chris, can we continue to go here with a little overtime? I think we are good to go. So thank you, sir. So for both you gentlemen, I guess the key thing, we'll just keep you for a couple minutes, but you've got the average North Dakotan sitting here listening to this. Like, where is there opportunity for people in our state, outside of our state, and this state as you think about combining ag and energy? We'll start with you, Lieutenant Governor.
So it happens where this ESG world is forcing private capital to put these solutions together, and they come to a place where there's actual, it's easier for business friendly environments, easier for permitting time. They come to a place like North Dakota where we are open to generating power. We love producing food. We love growing crops. I mean, we're just really good at sending them out of here by rail, by pipe, sending our kids out by airplane. We need to add value, keep our kids here for workforce, keep the natural gas here for the pet chem type conversation where we're looking at biodegradable plastic bottles coming out of our state with some of these projects, nitrogen plant, propane, keeping it here, all these things that add value for our state citizens using our own natural gas instead of sending it out by pipe to Wyoming, Kansas, Iowa, and Illinois. And so let's do that here. Let's add value to our feedstocks. Instead of sending the soybeans by container to China, let's turn them into renewable diesel here. Let's add value right here, have less basis for the farmer, have more money in their pocket.
So you brought something up that I didn't even think about. That now I want to ask you, what do we have to do in North Dakota? We've got our own, wheat plant. We got a bank. What do we have to do to get our own meat packing plant in North Dakota?
Well, this question has come up a lot.
I'm sure it has.
Until you can automate that and create a more efficient, cheaper, inexpensive transportation route, it's going to be really difficult. Some of the issues that surround the meatpacking industry, and you watch and see where they're at, they generally are in very large or near some very large urban areas so that you have workers, because they got to run 24 hours. You got to build them to scale. They got to operate all the time just to keep them efficient, to keep the price of food down.
So let me interrupt you a bit. Is there a way to leverage Grand Farm? Because since you're looking at autonomous farming, isn't there a way to leverage Grand Farm tech to maybe automate our own meatpacking plant here in North Dakota? Or
Well, the thing is, within the industry, they've automated quite a bit of it. The problem is you still need that personal touch. You need the judgment that comes from a person when they are making sure that meat is being graded properly, that the right cuts are coming out of it, that it's being portioned, it's being moved, it goes in down different rails, and it's handled and managed differently. You still need that component to it. The other part is, even if you had all that, you would have to secure some type of contract for what we call the offal, which is the bones, it's the hide, it's certain cuts that aren't necessarily consumed by Americans. They all go into a global market. And right now, the big packers, they have markets established all over the world that they just fill containers and feed it every day. They're a constant, consistent supplier. They actually generate anywhere between $130 to $180 a day off from every animal. Now, in the rest of our industries, where you're small, mid-size type of meat processor, you're paying anywhere from $80 to $130 just to get rid of the animal. So it becomes a liability to you as a small, medium processor. The other thing that works against us in North Dakota, as much as we're about value added, we always have to keep in mind, even if our labor is cheaper, even if the commodity and product is cheaper, you always have to ship it someplace. That's one of the reasons it's difficult for a refinery up here too, because a refinery means you need to have a large consumption base. Otherwise, you got to establish more pipeline, you got to get it someplace else. We already have a problem trying to move crude oil out of this state. Imagine trying to move dedicated product, whether it's 15 different lines of product. You got to find that in a pipeline or in a rail or something.
But on the flip side, we're moving a bunch of soybeans out of the state. So
that goes on a different track, a different market, and that is the traditional way in which you move commodities globally.
I want to get your take on a meatpacking plant, and then I've got just one more question for each of you. So your take on, is that possible here in North Dakota, or economies of scale just don't work?
Economies of scale are tough, just like a new refinery is. So you talk about refinery. Well, the reason we have this Dickinson refinery to do renewable soy diesel is because it didn't work. Because the industry will tell you that there's enough local demand for fuel coming out of that Mandan refinery. So we produce so much oil that we can only handle I think it's 80,000 barrels a day of our million plus we produce at the Mandan refinery. But think about how few people are in North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. I mean, that's the deal. But and so food situation with background and finishing and the packing plants, that's why it's down further into the Midwest. But one of the things is interesting when talking to Commissioner Goehring about this, and I don't think he mentioned this, is there's a plant in Aberdeen that is not at capacity. That's not that far away from here. So I always say, let's try to communicate and make sure we utilize what we have. I mean, we really have to do that before getting too angry about not having a solution come. That what if we bring a solution to the table that they don't have the throughput, don't have the labor, and it loses money horrendously, and the state has a big say in that. I mean, that's not good either.
And I think to that point, people may think that I'm opposed to a packing facility. I love one, but it has to make economic sense. And we've got it's a chicken and the egg situation. Do we have more livestock to actually feed the plant and make sure that we can keep it viable? But just as Brent had said, we have a plant in Aberdeen that's only 10 years old. It was structured, built to take 1,200 head a day. It's operating about 6.
Last question for each of you. How much of a threat is this beyond protein, Bill Gates, plant protein thing to our meat industry?
So is it inevitable? Probably, for the rich and the famous. When we had them on a panel about 2 years ago, I asked the question when we were in DC of them, so how much does your product cost? Well, it's about $4,000 a pound. Well, even, and that's what we're talking about, the Petri dish stuff being grown. The beyond the meat, it has a place. Somebody's going to eat it. That's a little more affordable. I'm not sure what the reasons are behind it. I know that it's an agricultural product, so I got to be a bit careful about picking on it too much. But is it a threat to the consumer or to the livestock industry? I believe to a degree, because in some markets they're misrepresenting it, and that's not right. I don't care. You can sell whatever you want. Don't misrepresent it.
Last word, Lieutenant Governor.
I don't think we'll see the soy burgers take off here at this generation as it didn't in the last generation, North Dakota and in the red states in the center of the country. I'm sorry. There might be some Beyond Meat on the coast, and with people that want to pay for that and want to have that as vegetarian foods. That's wonderful. We have a lot of crazy ways to get protein now that we didn't used to when I was a kid. But for someone that wants that juicy steak at the restaurants on the coast, I don't know how you're going to replace that. It might take some of the volume away, just like renewable diesel might take some of the volume away, and if people choose to eat that, that's great.
Yeah.
That's fine.
To both you guys, thanks for the time and the insights. It's always great to talk to you. So thank you very much.
Thanks for what you do, Chris. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks, Chris.